Ruger introduced the P90 in 1991 as the company's first .45 ACP self-loading pistol, scaling up the earlier P89 architecture to handle the larger cartridge. It entered a market already populated by the SIG P220 and S&W's 4500 series and arrived the same year as Glock's 21. Yet Ruger aimed it at shooters who valued durability and price over refinement. Within the broader P series, it embodied the line's serviceable and rugged brief rather than chasing contracts. The P90 and decocker-only KP90DC share an investment-cast aluminum alloy frame, carbon steel slide, and stainless barrel and internals. It is a short-recoil locked-breech hammer-fire DA/SE design with either a safety decocker or decocker-only layout, an automatic firing pin block, and fixed 3-dot sights. The single-stack magazine carries 8 rounds and interchanges with later Ruger 45 P series models such as the P97 and P345. The pistol built a reputation for being overbuilt for the caliber and for producing better accuracy than many expected at its price point. Production ended in 2010 as Ruger transitioned to lighter polymer-framed designs. On the secondary market, examples remain common, typically showing the kind of finish wear that comes from long service but little mechanical drama. The P90 sits today as a durable, budget-minded .45 that delivered what it promised without pretense. Glock's subcompact .45 Auto was conceived as a concealable companion to the full-size Glock 21, retaining a double-stack layout while reducing the overall footprint. The pistol appeared with the familiar safe-action striker system and polymer frame, and later gained the short-frame SF option to reduce grip circumference for smaller hands. The G30 feeds from a 10-round magazine but accepts Glock 21 magazines for extended capacity. Despite the compact dimensions, accuracy often rivals larger pistols, a trait that helped it earn a place among shooters who typically avoid subcompact .45s. The polygonal rifled barrel favors jacketed bullets. Many users report reliable performance with plated projectiles, though Glock's guidance on unjacketed lead remains conservative. The magazine's steel-lined polymer body and strong spring can make the 10th round stiff to load when new. Range behavior is defined by a broad pushing recoil impulse rather than a sharp snap, which aids controllability in rapid strings. The design uses minimal external controls and the standard Glock takedown tabs, so manual of arms translates directly for those already familiar with the platform. The model remains in production in standard and SF forms supported by a sweeping aftermarket in holster sights and magazine extensions, exactly the ecosystem one expects in the Glock universe. Development of the USP family began in 1989 as Heckler Koch analyzed the U.S. market, seeking a pistol that combined modern materials with multiple operating modes and high endurance. The effort ran parallel to the OHWS program that produced the MK23, and the two shared technology, including a recoil reduction assembly. The USP appeared in 1993. The .45 ACP version followed in 1995 to align with U.S. demand. The USP .45 employs a short recoil modified Browning linkless system with a glass fiber reinforced polymer frame, steel inserts, and a nitrocarburized hostile environment slide finish. Early barrels with conventional rifling gave way quickly to cold hammer-forged polygonal barrels reflecting user preference. Patented dual-spring recoil system reduces felt recoil and tamp slide velocity, enabling sustained use with +P and +P plus ammunition. One of the platform's calling cards is its array of trigger safety variants. 10 factory configurations convertible by an armorer ranging from frame-mounted safety decocker DASA to more specialized setups. Variants broadened the family compact and compact tactical for carry and suppression, tactical with threaded O-ring barrel and raised sights and competition-focused match expert, and elite models with extended barrels and tuned triggers. The USP series saw adoption with specialized law enforcement units and some military elements, where a smaller practical sidearm was preferred over the MK23's bulk. The design later informed the ergonomics and features of the HK45 line. Smith & Wesson introduced the 645 in 1985 as its first commercial .45 ACP self-loader built within the company's second-generation semi-auto architecture. and intended as a DASA alternative to single-action 1911 type pistols. The production run lasted until 1988, aligning almost perfectly with the period when the pistol appeared on Miami Vice at the center of its holster and windbreaker aesthetic. The 645 is an all-metal pistol with an alloy frame stainless slide 5-inch barrel and an 8-round magazine. A slide-mounted safety decocker, squared and serrated trigger guard, and either fixed or adjustable sights defined the controls and sighting picture of the day. Disassembly follows the Browning pattern without a barrel bushing, and the frame geometry incorporates an extended beaver tail for a higher grip and to avoid hammer bite. Capacity exceeded the contemporary GI 1911 by 1 round, a small but noteworthy point for departments that restricted cocked and locked carry. The model gave way to the third-generation 4506, which refined the concept and broadened departmental approvals. Today, the 645 is a time capsule pistol, an early stainless 45 from S&W's SAADA lineage collected as much for its role in moving S&W into the 45 auto space as for its screen minutes. The HK-45 emerged from the Joint Combat Pistol Initiative, even as that U.S. program toward a new 45 auto service sidearm stalled and ultimately paused. H&K collaborated with Larry Vickers and Ken Hackathorn to fold lessons from the USP and P220 into a modern 45 with improved human factors. The result retained a short recoil Browning-type system, but revised grip geometry added interchangeable backstraps and trimmed capacity to 10 rounds to achieve a slimmer profile and better reach to the trigger. Typical features include an O-ring polygonal barrel for consistent lockup ambidextrous slide releases, front and rear slide serrations, and a full Picatinny rail for accessories. The lower bore axis and textured grip contribute to controllability, while the trigger/safety variant system mirrors the USP ecosystem. The pistol became a legitimate duty option rather than a scaled experiment, and the compact and tactical versions extended the family to concealment and suppression roles. The HK-45 also wandered into film, where it appeared in science fiction and action franchises, sometimes with creative liberties taken regarding who issued what. Regardless of screen presence, the pistol sits in regular commercial production and remains in agency inventories, where a 45 ACP duty weapon is desired, but the bulk of a 12-round USP 45 or the MK-23's mass are not. Debuting in 1988, the 4506 replaced the 645 and marked the third generation of S&W metal frame autos. The later 4506. One revision borrowed structural lessons from the 10mm model 1006, thickening the slide and reinforcing the frame, which paid dividends in service longevity. The 4506 series kept the DASA layout with a slide-mounted safety decocker and settled on a 5-inch barrel and 8-round magazine as its baseline. Construction moved to stainless steel for both frame and slide, finished in satin with polished flats, and used a one-piece wraparound Delrin grip. The rounded trigger guard on many 4506 pistols distinguishes them from the squared profile of the earlier 645 era. A removable front sight simplified service work, and departments could order fixed or adjustable rear sights depending on policy. The pistol's geometry and feed system earned a reputation for swallowing varied bullet profiles, with some examples even cycling empty 45 auto cases during demonstrations. The 4506 found a home in law enforcement holsters, including LAPD approvals in the late 1990s. It also became a recognizable screen prop in early 2000s crime drama. Production ended as agencies migrated to lighter polymer pistols and different calibers, but the 4506 persists on the used market, often as ex-police trade-ins, and remains a favorite example of the heavy-duty 45 service auto. Work that led to the P220 began in the 1960s at Schweizerische Industriegesellschaft, where SIG trialed pistols in multiple calibers and frame materials while developing a new locking system. What emerged by the mid-1970s paired a double-action/single-action trigger with a decocking lever, integrated the locking surfaces into the barrel hood and ejection port, and used an alloy frame to manage weight. Switzerland adopted the 9mm version as the Pistole 75. Japan later adopted a .45 ACP variant for its self-defense forces, an unusual post-war military choice in that caliber. Export and licensing arrangements created an identity patchwork. J.P. Sauer and Sohn in Germany produced the line for Europe, while the pistol briefly reached the U.S. as the Browning BDA before wearing its SIG Sauer nameplate. Early folded steel slides with pinned breech blocks gave way to milled stainless slides on later guns, addressing service life with hot loads and simplifying maintenance. Grips evolved as well, from slab panels to wraparound styles that improved purchase without adding bulk. Specifications for the classic full-size .45 auto version center on a 4.4-inch barrel, 7 or 8-round magazine alloy frame, and conventional fixed sights with optional tritium inserts. The design's decocking-only manual of arms without a manual safety became a SIG hallmark. The P220 line remains in production in updated forms, from compact carry models to tuned Legion packages, while early West German-marked pistols continue to draw collector interest. FN's polymer hammer-fired line evolved from the FNP series to the FNX family in the late 2000s, with the FNX 45 joining after the 9mm and 40 models. The aim was a modern high-capacity 45 with broad ambidexterity and controllable recoil for duty and defensive roles. The magazine holds 15 rounds, which gave it the largest standard magazine capacity of all .45 ACP pistols at its debut. Two principal variants define the line. The standard FNX 45 presents a 4.5-inch barrel, replaceable backstraps, and an integrated accessory rail. The FNX 45 Tactical extends to a 5.3-inch threaded barrel, adds suppressor height tritium sights, and arrives with a milled slide for mini red dot optics typically finished in flat dark earth or black. Controls, safety decocker, slide stop, and magazine release are fully ambidextrous. A loaded chamber indicator on the right side and a long slide barrel travel before unlocking, contribute to a softer recoil impulse than the dimensions suggest. The FNX 45 family continues in production, with the tactical version remaining a turnkey host for a suppressor and optic from the factory rather than a piecemeal build. The pistol occupies an interesting niche, a DA SA-45, that offers 15-round capacity, thorough left-hand support, and factory-ready accommodations for modern accessories. Glock released the 21 in 1990 as the company's first .45 ACP, scaling the Glock 17's pattern to accept a 13-round double-stack magazine. It arrived during a period when many agencies still issued 9mm, yet it presented .45 ACP performance with modern capacity and a lighter weight than steel frame competitors. The pistol helped reintroduce .45 ACP to a generation that increasingly associated service autos with double-stack 9mm designs. The G21 later appeared as the 21SF, with a reduced grip circumference and ambidextrous magazine release to meet U.S. military bid parameters, and as a Gen 4 model with rough texture grip, interchangeable backstraps, and a reversible magazine catch. Typical specifications include a 4.6-inch barrel, overall length of just over 8 inches, unloaded weight around 30 ounces, and the company's standard 5.5-pound trigger. The safe action system and short recoil locked breech design remain consistent with the line. The intended market spanned law enforcement and civilian use, with the military angle never turning into broad adoption. Even so, the G21 continues to serve in some police holsters valued for capacity, reliability, and parts commonality with other Glock models. Production continues in the Gen 4 configuration and enjoys extensive support from sights to duty holsters to competition triggers. John Browning's short recoil single-action .45 passed a 6000 round trial in 1910 and entered U.S. Army service on March 29, 1911, with the Navy and Marine Corps adopting shortly after. The design reflected lessons from turn-of-the-century combat that exposed the .38 service revolver's limitations. Formal testing and expedient field experience converged on a .45 self-loader, with manual and grip safeties and a lanyard ring for mounted troops. The pistol first saw action with U.S. forces during the 1916 punitive expedition and then across the trenches of World War I. The 1924 M1911 A1 update, shortened. The trigger lengthened the grip, safety spur arched the mainspring housing, and enlarged sights to modernize handling. The pistol served through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, then continued with specialized units, even after the Beretta M9 replaced it in the 1980s. Law enforcement and civilian spheres adopted it widely, ranging from Texas Rangers to target shooters, and it anchored both bullseye and later practical shooting disciplines. Sergeant Alvin York's World War I actions gave the pistol a place in American military lore, and Jeff Cooper's modern technique crystallized much of its later training culture. A standard government model remains a steel-frame single-action .45 with a 7 or 8 round single-stack magazine short recoil operation and both thumb and grip safeties. The form has diversified to include lightweight frames, optics-ready slides, and a broad aftermarket. Current production spans Colt and many other makers at multiple price tiers. Parallel to this, the double-stack 2011 concept carries the 1911's ergonomics forward with a modular grip and much higher capacity. It now dominates the competition and duty-oriented hammer-fired 9mm pistol space. The 1911's 100-plus years of service and continuous manufacture make it less a historic artifact than a living pattern. If you enjoyed the video, share it with your fellow gun nerds, drop a like, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.